And here's the thing. Should we put Brexit on hold? We are taking a deliberate kind of swerve slightly on COVID matters momentarily. We are, of course, going to keep you fully updated what's going on in Manchester and any developments on that. The Brexit negotiations have essentially fallen apart. No deal is on the way. The government seem remarkably relaxed about this, sort of. That said, the government are also telling us that thousands of businesses are not ready for a no deal. Businesses aren't ready. What's going on? They don't appear to have the paperwork to trade. The hauliers are not ready to take goods across the channel. 200,000 firms, we are told, which export to the European Union are expected to be frustrated by new red tape, which will suddenly be required in New Year. How could businesses not be ready? What's been going on? Business leaders have warned the Prime Minister that Britain's economy is ill-prepared for a no-deal Brexit while companies face severe disruption from the coronavirus pandemic. Business groups called for an urgent resolution in the Brexit talks after the PM told UK businesses to get ready for trading with the EU on terms that are more like Australia's. That is code, of course, for leaving without a deal. 3/4 of UK companies, 3/4 are not ready for Brexit, according to a study released by the Institute of Directors in the summer. Half of the nearly 1,000 business managers that were interviewed say they cannot currently prepare. Now, let's just have a think. Why would businesses in the UK, particularly small and medium-sized ones, have taken their eye off the Brexit ball? What else has been going on out there of late? How could anybody be so distracted? Well, I suppose there's unemployment and mass redundancies. There is that. There's companies closing at a record rate. There's debt. There's 2 trillion quid's worth of debt. There's lots of hospitalisations. There's mental health problems. People estranged from their families. Entire roads, towns, even cities closed down. Tier 1, 2 or 3. Lack of money. People not spending it. So there's that. In short, the wholesale economic and social destruction of our country. There's that. A full-on assault on enterprise and living. There's that. The demolition of jobs and livelihoods on an industrial scale, or because of COVID. So there's that. 0344 499 1000. You see where I'm going with this? Should we not put Brexit on hold? I'm looking at this now thinking, what kind of supercharged Looney Tune would say, hey, it's a cracking idea? How far is it away? How many weeks, Ricky, until the end of this, till January the 1st? How many weeks is that? We'll get the calculations going here. Ricky's got his abacus out. Are we serious? We're going to carry on with the backdrop of all of this, and I promise you now, it's 11 weeks, by the way. 11 weeks till we fully leave the EU without a deal. Companies are not ready. Of course they're not ready. Why would anybody be ready for the most seismic shift in our trading relationship with a huge chunk of the planet, love them or hate them, the EU, and companies are not ready? Now, not everybody trades with Europe, I get that, but if you do, boy, can we really afford to take another hit? We've taken the COVID hit, now we're going to take the no deal hit. What business would any government have right now in continuing with Brexit at the moment? By the way, I'm not talking about cancelling it. I'm talking about pausing it. Perish the thought. There's been a democratic vote. That's a given. I'm just talking about the timing of this. 11 weeks away that we're just going to walk out of a bloc that we have been part of, traded with, and called the shots in quite a few ways for 50 years. Half a century's worth of rules, regulations and diktats that nobody had to think about until now, and we're wondering why there's quite a lot of businesses out there that aren't necessarily geared up and ready, as you might expect them to be, for a no-deal Brexit and all the paperwork and the admin and the bureaucracy that will go with that. Why are they not ready? What has been going on? Man alive, does anybody really need me to read out a list on national radio as to what's going on? 0344 499 1000. I was watching a few interesting threads unfold on our good friend's social media yesterday about this, and some of the most hardened Brexiters arguing that now is not the time to leg it from the EU. It's simply not the time, and I would concur with that. Now, there is a theory, and somebody emailed on this point, which I'll read you in a second, that actually what the government are doing is getting all the bad stuff out of the way in one go. Because otherwise we'll have COVID and eventually COVID will be sorted. Maybe by next summer, that'll be out the way. And then you start Brexit stuff again. No. What we should do is get it all done straight away. And then all the mess happens at once and we eventually find our way through the labyrinthine world of a post-EU existence and a post-COVID one as well. 0344 499 1000. Now, if you're a Remainer, then you are clearly going to say, yes, and we should pause it, of course, in the vague hope that somebody, what was her name, Gina Miller, and will suddenly pitch up with another court case. Forget all of that caper. We're not talking about that. I'm talking mainly to people who voted to leave the EU. I don't know anybody who wanted to leave the EU chaotically. I don't know anybody who wanted to leave the EU to be poorer. I don't know anybody who wanted to leave the EU to damage businesses. I don't know anybody who wanted to leave the EU to have an industrial scale hit on our economy. The very antitheses of all of that. People who voted to leave the EU voted for all the positives in all of that. Might take a little bit of realigning, but all the positives. The idea that you are far more autonomous when it comes to certain rules, regulations, and the aforementioned diktats on trade, etc., movement of people, all of that kind of stuff. But is now the time, seriously, with a straight face, is now the time to be leaving the EU when we have companies who don't know whether they're Arthur or Martha right now when it comes to survival. You don't know what your next balance book's going to look like. People who don't know whether they're going to get another paycheck. People who have no idea whether they're even going to be in a town or city that will remain open. And we're saying, oh, by the way, on top of that, on top of the mass dissemination of your industry, your trade, your existence, your livelihood, your employees. On top of all of that, could you just sort out all your paperwork, please, for a no-deal Brexit? Get in the bin. You can hear business owners shouting from the rafters. Of course I can't. I don't know whether I'm going to be able to feed my family by the end of December, let alone work out what paperwork I might need to leave the EU. Get over yourself. 0344 499 1000. With a straight face. Is now really the time to be hot-footing it out of the EU? So we voted to leave. That's done. It's just about timing. It's about trade. It's about the bureaucracy and the paperwork that's put in place in order to allow that to happen. Now, I've never been under any illusion. I have screamed at the Remainer argument where they've talked about this kind of Armageddon because of Brexit. This isn't an Armageddon because of Brexit. This is a financial Armageddon because of COVID. It's nothing to do with the theory, the spirit, the thrust of Brexit. This is simply about the reality of where we are at. In whose world? You imagine going onto a kind of, one of those worthy business programs where John Harvey Jones or Lord Sugar or somebody advises you on the best way to do business. And you say, yeah, what I'm going to do, I'm going to leave an institution like the EU, but I'm going to do it during a pandemic. I'll wait for the pandemic to come along. That's when I'm going to do it. You'd be laughed out the flipping room. It is bonkers. It is bonkers. 0344 499 1000. All you've got to do is just kick it along the line for 6 months and say, okay, now we can see the wood for the tree. Now we know that businesses are ready. Now we know that small businesses, people who work their socks off day to day, who in all possibility voted for Brexit, is right now the time to say, yeah, you need to just get another strand of red tape and paperwork and certification and various portals on the internet, get all of that done. Right now, where people don't even know whether they're going to exist as a business inside the next couple of weeks, let alone into next year. 0344 499 1000. So I'd appeal to you across the political spectrum on this, but I think it's particularly interesting to gauge the views of anyone who voted to leave the EU. If that's your position, I know a lot of listeners who voted Brexit. So even by that standard, by your own standard, is now the time to leave the European Union?